Welcome back to another episode of That Fitness Business Podcast. Tom Blackman with Dan Smith. Hello, Dan.
Hey, Tom. Hello.
Hey, good. Nice to see you. And today we're talking about the approach to the sales process for fitness business owners, because both me and Dan obviously coaches, and one of the things we come up against, and some of the things, and this is what we've encountered ourselves as well, is that sometimes the sales process is the biggest fear for online coaches. You know, they're great being coaches. When it comes down to selling their great coaching, that is an issue. I'm sure you can agree with that sentiment, Dan.
Yeah, definitely. I think there's not maybe a week goes by where I don't have a conversation with someone around sales, but then the phrase gets mentioned, I don't want to be too salesy.
Exactly.
And I've thought that before. I've definitely probably said that in the past. You know, because you have this preconception of what sales is. I think everyone's got, as soon as you mention it, everyone has an image in their head that conjures up. My image is like a man in a grey suit in a car sale, not even a sales room, just outside, with his hand goes up to the bonnet. Lovely motor, this one. And that's what
nice
image.
little runner.
Yeah.
Only one lady owner.
Yeah, that's the image that comes up still now when you hear it. But you know, that's not what we're going to cover in this and go through why that's complete nonsense. But yeah.
I think also in the coaching space, the issue is that you've got so many like high pressure type sales tactics, and if anybody's ever signed up to any of the sort of the big guru lists, they'll have experienced this firsthand with like the emails that they get bombarded with, which are, you know, sometimes twice a day, just literally ramming their product down someone's throat. And you know, and I suppose as ethical, moral people, we don't want to be that person who's ramming our product down someone's throat. But on the other side, we're all great coaches, and if we don't sell our product, we don't make people aware of our product, we're doing a disservice to them because we could really help them.
Yeah, you can. Sales shouldn't be shied away from. It shouldn't be seen as a negative thing, because it's ultimately how you're going to run your business, and whether it's successful or not. I mean, we want to do this for free and just to have a lovely time. That's nice, but we're not.
Incidentally, I just I bought a new Bentley the other day, and I put down 10,000 likes as a deposit.
Did they take it?
Yeah, because likes, like, you know, they said, great, I'll just bank all that. That means a lot. Yeah. So I've got to come back with another 30,000 likes probably tomorrow. Yeah. So I'm probably going to post a picture of me getting an ice bath or something. I'll do it.
But that's a good point, though. That stuff. But then on the other side of that, like the flip side of that, is that people then draw too much into those metrics that don't actually mean anything. But then they're like, exactly. Oh, actually, okay, so what is it? Do you want to get paid, or do you want to like get loads of likes on social media? Right.
Yeah, because I think we touched on this before. You know, like you've posted a picture of your missus, you and out having lunch or something. I posted a picture of me in the gym, like, you know, guns out, loads of likes, but no sales come from those pictures. no inquiries come from those pictures. And of course, that's part of building your audience and 7-11-4 and all that's good stuff we talk about. But the main thing here, going back to sales, is that people, they want to be liked. And so what they don't want to come across as is this really slimy, hey, great to connect, you know, sign up to my high ticket offer person.
Yeah. It's important to understand the difference between what you explained a moment ago, where you sign up for some of these gurus or whatever, and they start selling to you the way that they do it, because there's a difference between how they would sell to you, and I think then how you would sell your coaching services, because you try and replicate what they do, it is going to come across like that, and that's ultimately what I'm assuming people don't want. And I find that weird in the space. It's like you've got people who are going, this is how you should do it, and this is how you should market, but they're marketing to other coaches. So you're like, that's different to how I would then, okay, the principle's the same, but I wouldn't be doing the same stuff. And I find that fascinating, because they'll just teach what works for them to attract coaches into their into the service.
Mm.
But well, then they're not actually telling them how to then sell their business. They're just telling them the processes that work to get the coach into the business, which I find fascinating.
Yeah. So what you mean is that if I got this right, is that the coach selling to the coaches is, here's my coach, here's my sales technique, which is how they've got them to buy their coaching program.
Yeah.
And they're saying, now use that to sell to your PT clients.
Yeah. For example, like I think you mentioned to me the other day, signing up to something and you were just instantly bombarded by upsells. And you're like, well, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to then go and take that and go, Joe, what? That's really cool. That's how I'm going to sell my coaching program, because people are just going to go what you said and go, I'm not doing this. Like, so I find that fascinating.
Yeah. I think there's what the difference here is that when you've got a coach to a coach, so say if we're selling our coaching program to other coaches, that's a B2B arrangement, isn't it? A business to business. Yeah. So there's people expect a different type of relationship there. Whereas what we're doing is selling to like people in terms of like coaching them to improve their body, health and fitness. That's a B2C, that's a business to customer relationship. And that requires much more of a personal touch. Like business, fine. If I signed up to something the other day, it's going on the website, look at all these flashy things it does. Great, that's what I want it to do. Buy, because I know I can just buy that product and then plug and play and go straight away. But it doesn't really work that way for, like buying like a health and fitness program. I think anyway, you need to have a conversation with that person to see if it's the right product for them, if it's the right because here's the thing with customers is that sometimes they don't know what they need. And I don't mean that in a condescending way, but people say, I want to lose weight. Actually, what they want is to feel confident about themselves and to walk around and buy clothes they like and feel when they go on holiday to a beach, they love how they look. That sort of thing. It's not weight loss, is it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I appreciate that as well. That difference between the services and who they're being sold to. But I think that does get done a lot in there. It's like you replicate the same system. You're like, well, that didn't work. Okay, cool. And I think that's definitely something that's coming out more, working with the more coaches I work with and the individual ways that they want to communicate with their audiences. We have to be quite tactful with that and find ways that work. And ultimately comes down to if you're not that person who likes the sales side of stuff and doesn't want to be hard selling, which I think is completely the wrong way to do it anyway. From a coaching, you're selling a coaching service. You don't want to be the first interaction you have with your potential client is you trying to get them to get their credit card out. Like that's not really going to go down well for the relationship, right? So do a lot of the stuff beforehand before you even get to that point of having a call with someone. Do that through everything we talked about in the past, like how you build relationships through your content, through your emails, and how you show what it is you go through with a client and how you show your processes and the structures you work on and show you the proof that you've got. You do all that before, then by the time that person gets on a call with you, you might have even spoke to them a few times before. And then you're on the call and they're like, right, I'm ready. And you're pretty much certain that it's just a conversation at that point. There's not any like hard sell involved.
And that's why I think a lot of processes are flawed, because they're focusing on, get them on the phone, don't let them leave until they buy or till they die. That's sort of like, the Wolf of Wall Street, don't let them go, and just keep on pushing until they buy. Whereas actually that's sort of backloading what you need to be doing. And actually, like you're saying, all the effort needs to be here in the when they come into your ecosystem, when they're getting your lead magnet, when you're following up with emails, when you're having conversations, when you're doing like live events or whatever, when all this stuff is building that 7-11 4, isn't it? That confidence that they know, like, and trust you.
Yeah.
And then you build up that to be massive. And then the action point, that's only a very small part of that. They're ready now to buy. So the sales conversation is really easy because they're confident. You don't need to hard sell it. They're confident that you can solve their problem.
Yeah. So it's spending more time doing that, those areas. And you can do that through like a number of ways, can't you? So there's social media, content creation, and making sure you're dialed in with your messaging and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so
zeroed in.
Yeah. So that's part of it. And then you've got processes that you can use through email, and nurturing them over a longer period of time. And I think having a combination of both works well, because definitely you see where this breaks down in like connection with people's audiences, when all of a sudden they might see something, or some guru is talking about something over here. This is what you need to do. These are the super sexy templates that will just boost your sales. And they go, oh, I'm really excited, I'm going to do that. And then like nothing
10K
happens.
sales letter.
Yeah. And nothing happens because you haven't done all this stuff that we're talking about here, where we're creating connection, building trust. And you just go, oh, the magic letter, the magic post I've got, that's going to save me. You know, there's a few other variables to that as well. But
the golden ticket, in it, from Willy Wonka's. Oh, now I'm okay now.
That's what it drives me mad, because I think we've mentioned before about, you know, people templating stuff and saying, you know, I've got this magic formula which is going to get you boost your sales now. And then of course they're going to talk about the people who it does work for, because they've done all that stuff. And then they add this thing in and he goes, oh wow, I've got more clients, more interaction, more calls booked. Of course, because they're doing this stuff already. They're doing it naturally, whether they know it or not. And the people who aren't doing that, who haven't posted on social media for 6 months, right, I've got this super post that I'm doing.
Right.
And they do it. Right, nothing happens. Oh, that's shit. Yeah, because you haven't done all the other stuff. So people aren't thinking about the whole process.
But the cherry on the top, isn't it? The sales call is just the cherry on the top of all this foundation you've built beforehand. And I think that is not said enough by guru coaches or whatever. You know, it's not said enough. It's like, here's the sales, because that's what's going to make you the money, but all the other stuff underneath, like the iceberg, tip of the iceberg, isn't it?
Yeah.
All that other stuff underneath, that's what's got you the sale.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, you've got a high pressure sales tactic, but that's ultimately, I think, going to lead to more requests for refunds and more people who don't fit your niche.
Yeah, definitely. And I've been involved in that as well. We've worked with a bigger coaching company.
People with high pressure calls.
No, not scamming at all. But they had a approach where it was straight to book calls from ads, and it's really hard to get the right people involved in that, and it's hard to have like buy-in at the beginning. It's hard to have retention after that as well, because they don't know the process. So yeah, that on a, not even on a like a high pressure level, it was just harder to make it work. And you see this as well. Like I think we've mentioned this before, but I can look in my email software and go, and I can pull up a name, and I can see all the tags that they've been through and all the processes until they've actually then taken action on signing up or buying. Like actually, there's a hell of a lot of stuff they've gone through before they actually did it.
Yeah. I look at that with because we both use Active Campaign, don't we?
Yeah.
So yeah, you can see all those tags, and also whenever I get someone on a call, because you have like a score app thing, same as I do, for like testing people. So you can see what they need to work on, and that links in with Active Campaign. And then when I go into it, and I can see all their scores and everything else, but also you can see, you know, oh, they've downloaded this, they've opened this email, and all that stuff means, well, this is obviously what they're interested in and what they need to do. And it makes that sales conversation so much easier. I mean, you don't have to say, oh, I've been investigating all the data I've got on you, and look, here's what we need to do, because that would be a little bit Big Brother, wouldn't it? But you can say, you can direct the conversation towards those things. And, you know, I don't think anyone's under the illusion that people don't gather data on them, but there's a way to relay that in a call, isn't there?
Yeah, definitely. It makes all this stuff that we're talking about is making your sales life easier. So if you're just focusing on posting on social media, yes, you could do it to an extent, but you have to remember, like, if you're posting on just one platform, take one platform, for example, or say you use Instagram, you was a post on Instagram, you do 3 posts a week, and 3% of your 500 people in your audience see it. Like, thinking about the likelihood of that's going to start to break down that 7-11-4 process and build content, build trust and between your audience, it's going to take you years to build that up. So you've got to think about, okay, if you want to make your sales process, your sales easier, then what can you do to expand that? Can you post more frequently? Can you post on more platforms? But also, can you build out these systems that then you can get people away from social media, so it is more individual and you're having more of a direct process with them to build trust? Or long form content like this, for example, could be different.
Yeah, well, one of the things I've been doing for the last, say, maybe 4 or 5 months is I do like a monthly webinar in my Facebook group, and the amount of people that actually come on the webinar is quite low, which you'd expect anyway, because it's in the evening on a Thursday or something like that. And I do it that time so people can come on with a Q&A if they want to. However, what I found is that the recording of the webinar gets loads of views. Loads of people watching that because they want to watch in their own time to build up that sort of, I suppose, that 7-11-4 and to see that and in the YouTube, you can see obviously how long people have watched for. And the views that I've got, they're pretty much, they're all over sort of 60%. They watch the whole thing 60%, and then, whatever happens at the end. So that people are engaged with what you're talking about, and then that builds that process again. So, and the other thing is that if you've got that long form content, like you said, you can redirect people back to it. So if someone does inquire about working with you, whatever, and they say, how much is it to work with you? That's their first question. Definitely not. That's the time to have a sales call. It's say, well, do you know what? Go and watch a couple of these videos before we have a chat about that, or have a look at this content first, and then we can have a chat, say, in a couple of days. Because what I found majority of the time is that someone who just messaged me saying, how much do you charge for a diet plan, for example, or how much do you charge for coaching? They're not going to be the people who are going to sign up. No. Absolutely. You're going to have that conversation. They're going to go, oh, I thought it'd be cheaper than that. And it's like, okay, just waste half an hour.
Or you do sign them up and they'll leave earlier. So because they don't have that process beforehand. Yeah. They understand. I get that as well. I think that ties in well with setting expectations or not having expectations around stuff like content things. But I think that comes out quite a lot. Or sales, I suppose sales calls in general, because it goes twofold. If you're putting out stuff on social media, you're writing emails and whatever, and you're sending all this stuff out, but you're going at every single one with the expectation that someone needs to sign up or book a call off it, then you're probably going to end up pretty disappointed quite quick. Whereas if you go at it with a different angle of, I'm doing this because I'm going to build this ecosystem, this content that I'm going to put out there, and over time it's going to help generate that trust and connection. But what we need to do at the same time is keep that audience being built, so keep new people coming into it, so you've always got people going through it. That's the stuff that I think doesn't get done so well by coaches.
So of course, if people are watching this, they're like, when are they getting to the bloody sales calls? So of course, we could have just gone straight into, here's how to do a sales call. But I think it's really important that we did say at that first bit that it's all about this builder, because that's going to make this, what we're going to talk about now, so much easier. And this is the sales call. Now, I think I'm right in saying this, is that you have a sales process, like I don't want to call it a script, because it's not like, Wolf of Wall Street going through the script, but there is a sales process. I have a sales process. It's a structured conversation. Presumably you have one of those?
Yeah. Sales process in terms of, once someone books a call, there's a pre-call process as well. So they'll get actually fed 3 emails before we actually get on the call. So then they go through that process. Then when we're on the call, I have my own individual process for things I want to cover. And it goes right down to like setting stuff up. So I still use this same time every time I put like name at the top, price point in the top right corner, so I can remember they have to like think about it when it comes up. And then I write down like 4 sections. In terms of like building rapport and stuff, I think that's quite self-explanatory. So I don't write that down, build rapport, but you might want to do that. And then I just have like 4 key areas I want to cover in terms of what they're currently doing, where they want to get to, and then any other points that I think are relevant. and how then I'm going to keep bringing it back to the things that they're finding difficult at the moment. So now I want to repeat a few things, and I want to almost mirror back that language. But I don't have like any kind of, I don't follow a script or flow or anything like that. I just have these 4 points that I want to cover. But I know everyone does it differently, so you're maybe slightly different. But.
Yeah, mine is so the way my process works, and this is the way I teach as well, is that there's anybody who inquires, I'll first of all have a few conversations like in the DMs or whatever, just to make sure they're the right person. You know, like we said, someone who says, "How much do you cost?" is as the first question. They're probably not ready for a call yet, because their mind's firmly fixed on the commoditization of your process rather than the result. But let's say, for example, they are the right person. They come on. Every person I talk to has a 15-minute call, and there's 9 points I cover in the email. In the conversation. Yeah, I mean, the first is like say hello, so that's 1 point. So it's not like 9 key, but as part of that process, it will be like, what are you looking to achieve? What's currently the biggest obstacle in your way, and a few other things that I ask. And I know by the end of that 15 minutes, and I'm really clear on when someone comes on for that call. I said, look, this isn't a sales call. This is just to determine if first of all, I can help you, and if we can do something together. If I can help you, and I feel as though I can get you a good result, we'll book another call for a longer sort of, I don't want to call it a strategy call, but it's like to lay out a plan. Yeah. And so in that 15 minutes, it's very much conversational about what they're looking to achieve, what they've done in the past, why they think it's broken, why they haven't got there, and then what they want from me. And at the end of that 15 minutes, 100%, I know, I can help them. Or if I can't, can they afford the coaching? That's really cool. And if I'd like to work with them. And I know we've covered these 3 things before, about the essentials for working with someone. Can you help them? Can they afford it? Do you want to work with them? Because, well, we've talked about it before. You get a nightmare client, that's difficult to work with, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely agree with that. I have it depends on how they come into the call, because there's the similar thing. I have a 15-minute call, and that is just like you say, it's not I probably say similar stuff, like it's not a sale, it's not for me to convert you into this. I just want to have a chat. And I even say stuff like that, like, this is just for us to have a conversation, like, and for you to ask any questions and get anything information you need from me, and I can tell you about how it works. But you've already seen how it works, because I've sent you all the stuff in the video, which you're walking through it all, so it just confirms it. And then if they come in the other way, sometimes they'll come through our scorecard, like what we mentioned, and that pre-qualifies a little bit more, and it has the price point in it. So I know if they've gone through that, they're aware of the price. And I don't think I've had anyone go through that and then not sign up, because they're more keen. They've seen it and they're like, yeah, I've seen how much it is. Let's do it. And in our coaching, we have a similar process. So we still have the sequence, and we call it a virtual coffee chat. So it's not a sales call. It's just a chat to have a conversation about, is this right for you, or us, should I say? Yeah,
because I think people are, when what it's like. You go into a shop and you're just looking for a TV, and all of a sudden it's like,
hello,
hey, can I help you with anything? You're like, and even if you do want help, you're like, no, I don't want any help, because it's that I'm a salesperson thing. And it's difficult to get around that, especially I think as English, well, British, whatever people, we're like that, aren't we? We shy away from sales calls, whereas different cultures, different, aren't they? Some cultures like, sell to me, I want to be sold to. I think certainly when British people are like not really liking sales calls. So having that initial chat, that 15-minute, can I actually help you, is nice for them, because then they're in agreement that you can help them at the end of it, and then they're more willing to come on to, okay, shall we talk about the price? Shall we talk about working together? Then they know that the next call is the sales call, and they're quite happy with that. And like you said, a lot of your guys are aware of the price point. I have a system where after we've had that initial 15-minute call, I send them the the information about the program and the prices on there.
Hmm.
And the reason I do that is that when they come in for the sales call, which is normally a day later, they've read that document, and I can say, have you read the document? Any questions you got over that? Now, if they've read it and the price point is literally outside of their price point, they're going to message me and say, I'll have a look at it and it's just too much for me. Now, I know there's ways to counter those objections, etc., which, that's not for this discussion. But it immediately, if someone has seen the price and they've seen the program and they're coming on the sales call, that makes that conversation so much easier and quicker as well.
Yeah, I agree with that. Because I don't know if you've ever had this. You must have had this in the past. Like people who get on your calls and the price doesn't even come up because they're just so bought into everything. They're bought into everything they've seen before. They've been through, seen your content. They're telling you about the content that spoke to them. They're in your emails. They're getting all those. And then they get on the call and they're just like, yeah, I want to do this. That's almost what we want to get people to a position of. And price doesn't even come up because they're already invested in it. They're just like, oh, cool, I've got an idea of how much it might be, but I'm in.
I think this because I think now, obviously, I've got that process where I send them the document. The price doesn't even come up in the conversation because obviously they know what the price is. And if it's like I say, if it's outside their price point, they just send me a message and they say, oh, it's not for me today. And it's okay, fine, we'll catch up some other time. Before, I have had that where people have contacted me out of the blue and say, I've watched all this, I've been on your emails, everything else, I'm ready to change. Can we have a chat about that? And yeah, it's we get to the end of because I used to do the price at the end of the call, and then don't say anything, So I used to do that. And they said, yeah, that's fine. And they bought. But I would say that that's not the majority of cases, and which is why I adopted this new method so that I could do that filtering process. Mostly because obviously I don't want to waste their time and I don't want to waste my time. And I think people respect that a little bit more.
Yeah, definitely changed that over the years and as well. I was just thinking, I wrote an email that went out today where we were talking about how you can be more confident in pricing, how you can be confident in the service that you offer. I think it does come down to that a lot of having a confidence around what you deliver, because if not, it's normally the first thing for me to ask is like, well, if you're not confident in what you deliver, how are you going to then get that across to someone else when they ask you what it is? And I think that's a big factor for coaches when it comes down to pricing, because you ask them about, are you confident in the service that you deliver and how that works? And if they say no, then you can't command the price point that it's worth. And I find that a lot with, especially coaches who are more, I suppose, how do we term it? Like the ethically minded coaches, the ones who are who are really freaking good at their jobs, but then just don't want to charge because they're like, no, you can't do it. That's the one of the big things I find. But yeah, sorry, the email went out and it was about if you are really specific with who you help and you've got authority on that and there's a credibility in that and you can document that and you can keep repeating that message, then when someone does come and work with you, they know that this is what you deal with and this is why you're an expert in it. So this is the price point. I'm not saying that you just make prices up, but you charge according to what the outcomes are that you deliver.
Yeah.
It gives you confidence.
I think that comes down to the expert, doesn't it? And we talked about this before. If you've got a very clearly defined niche and you've got a very specific person that you help, like say whatever specialism you have, it's the analogy is like, if you're going in hospital with a heart problem, which is something that's close to my heart, you go to hospital and you got two surgeons there, and they're, oh yeah, one's done. I've done heart surgery. Yeah, I did it in med school and stuff like that. I've done a few. I'm okay. No one's died yet. And you go, okay. And I also do like legs, and I also do whatever else. Oh, okay. So you're like a general surgeon then? Yeah, I dabble. Yeah. And then the other guy's like, all I do every day is do heart surgery for 30-year-old men who exercise loads and have done a bit of gear in the past. And I know exactly what I'm doing here, 100% success rate. I'm going to go, all right,
Yeah,
I don't mind. I don't care what the price is. You're the guy I want to talk to.
yeah,
It's that thing, isn't it? It's and I think if your messaging is very clear, and this all comes back again to your perfect customer, isn't it? If you've got that nailed, if you're always talking about the people you help and the specific problems they face and all this sort of stuff, when it comes to that sales, it's like, yeah, I know exactly that you're the person to help me.
yeah.
So the objections are, I mean, the only objection you're maybe going to get is the price point, which you can obviously, as you said, we can deal with that another before it gets to that point.
Yeah. Yeah. So rather than thinking, all right, I've just got to nail a sales call, a script, and I've got to follow it through, there's so much more that can be done before that even gets to that stage. Definitely.
Yeah. And I think if you're on a call and you're obviously an expert, you've got like a PhD in their problems. If you are the expert and they're saying, oh, yeah, I've got this problem, you go, oh, yeah, that's fine. Yeah. I've done that before. No problem at all. We can sort that. I got this problem. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. And very calmly addressing these problems that they have. And you can say, yeah, I've done that. This person, I had this issue. This person had this issue when we dealt that with this way. So you can bring out those, previous case studies, the previous things you've done, all those sorts of things can come out in the sales call, which is also part of your content. It just makes the sale a lot easier. It makes the person who's on the sales call more comfortable because you're very, very deftly batting away any of the objections and showing them the road to where they need to get to.
Yeah. Good stuff. I don't think I've got anything else on this.
No, I think the sales call process is something that people think is this big, massive thing. And I think what we've demonstrated here is that it's actually not. It's a very, that's that small bit of your business. It's the most important bit because, well, debatable most important because that's where you actually make your money. But again, it's like people put all this effort into like flashy landing pages and, automation sequences and all that stuff's relevant. Of course, it's good to have those sorts of things, but they overthink all that stuff. I don't have a landing page for my physique program. I don't have a landing page for the business program. It's basically a Google Doc with all the stuff on, which I send out to people, which they can read easily. And every time someone has a question, I just add it to the bottom as an FAQ, sort of like so their objections are dealt with on the document. I haven't had a landing page for my programs for a long time, and I've actually sold more doing it that way than I did when I had a flashy landing page, which took me 3 or 4 days to build.
Yeah, it shows, doesn't it? It's not about that. It's about the connection that you have before that person gets to that stage. Or if you want to do it the other way, feel free, but it's a much more, I personally believe, a much more stressful life you'll have. I'd rather have a call with someone who knows what I'm about, who knows who I am, knows the stuff we do, and then we can have a chat and just find out, cool, is this something you want to do? I'd much happier doing that than having that pressure of like, this person doesn't know anything about us. Yeah.
And I think if someone is pushing the fact that he needs to have these high pressure sales calls and like marinate them in their pain and twist the knife and all that sort of stuff, I think if they are doing that and that's their main focus on how you get in sales, they're I don't know. I think like me and you obviously focus right on that content creation side of things and identifying the niche and all that stuff that builds up to it a lot more than we do on the actual sales call. I think that's the right way to do it. Certainly that's the way I teach, and that's the way you teach.
Yeah, because I don't want that element of stress. Like, it's stressful enough running a business. Why make it even more when you're having these sales calls? It's not needed. Yeah.
Just another point. I know we're coming up to time here. Is that a lot of people I know have been taught to when they're talking to people on the phone or Zoom or whatever, is to bring them down, so make them quite depressed at the beginning. So you get them on the call, right? What's the problem? Why are you not getting it? And they sort of like drag them right down. And the theory there is if they can get really, really sad about how they feel, like that sort of thing, then you can then sell them the big product that you sell, which is going to drag them out of that quagmire. Personally, yeah, I know that there is an element of, you know, twisting the pain points because you need to get, you know, them invested in the product. Personally, when I go on a call, it's like, right, where do you want to be? So right away, we're going, what do you want to accomplish? So we're giving them that positive feeling at the beginning. Then we go into, right, what's the issue? Because it's much easier. Okay, they're going to go down a little bit, but it's much easier to drag them up into a positive frame of mind, which will lead to a positive result, as in a positive sale where they're really positive about working with you, not negative, drag me out of this, save me please mentality.
Yeah.
It's just the way I work, and that doing it that way has been much more successful in terms of sales than like making them cry on the phone just before you start hitting them with the big high ticket sales.
Yeah, I think I'm similar. I always get the vision for where they want to be, and then I don't then go deep into the pain and that side of stuff. What we do is just highlight the gaps and go, so where are you currently? Do you have this in place? Are you doing this? Is this something you've got? And if they're not, then I'm writing it down. And then what I do is I just bring that back up. Okay, so these are some of the things that we potentially could work on, or we could build in. And this is why. And then that's what's going to get you to the ultimate place that you want to get to. And then like, oh, I can see that now. See how that works. You don't have to be right. How does that make you feel?
No. And the other thing to think about here is that as coaches, do we want to be working with people who are absolutely like in the bottom of the pit, the absolute
broken?
Yeah, and I don't mean this in a nasty way, because obviously we want to help people, but you know, sometimes when you get on a client and they are they need so much work to get them like to where they need to be. Is that something you really want to put your energy into? And again, not being nasty or anything else, but some people do require a hell of a lot more of your time and your investment and your emotional investment in order to get them out of that pit. Do we really want to be working with those people? Is that going to be a good use of your time and your emotion and your focus compared to all your other clients? Yeah.
That goes back to the reason why some of those calls are important, because you can then get a feel for that. Actually, do I really want to do this? You might really want to help them, but is it something that you want to sort of dedicate that time and energy to? Because I've definitely taken people like that on before, and it does drain you, because then you're finding that your focus and attention is all here, and then you've got other people who need it, and then that can make you resent like the work you're doing because you're focusing all your attention here. So yeah, definitely agree with that.
Yeah, really important point. You know, yeah, we want to help people, but just be careful who you do take on, because again, if they are right in that depths of despair and stuff like that, and you don't get them out of that despite all your best efforts, you know, there's an unhappy customer.
It's your fault.
Yeah, it's your fault, mate. So we want to, obviously, being you know, sort of sensible, business minded, always think about potentially how that's going to affect your business and you personally, rather than I just want to help everybody, because you can't help everybody, can you?
No. Nope. Nice.
Cool. Well, I think that's done a good one on sales. Anything further to add, Dan?
Not really. Like, there's main points covered before, like the main points being the calls. Like, yes, the call's important, but I get everything else in place first.
Yeah, it's the tip of the iceberg, the top of the Christmas tree, cherry on the top of the cake, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
All those metaphors.
Fairy on the tree. When you say that, you can't do that anymore, can you?
What, a fairy on the tree?
Yeah.
I don't know. I have a star at the top of my Christmas tree.
Yeah. I'm not sure if that was banned.
Not banned. Like gingerbread men.
Yeah, you cannot get them anymore, can you?
You can get gingerbread people.
Gingerbread men.
Yeah, who are asexual. On that note. Okay, Dan, where can people find you?
Strong Collective, Dan Strong Collective, anywhere.
Cool. Tom Blackman _nutrition or Tom Bill Coaching. And on YouTube is Tom Blackman. And my website's now live, billcoaching.co.uk. If anyone goes there. Not that I've actually updated a lot of the pages yet. They're still in the old format, so that's a work in progress. But the address is there. Okay, Dan, I'll speak to you next week. Thanks very much for your time.
You're a boy.